Have you seen this?
Yes, yeah.
I reached out about this because I saw it and thought it was very damaging. Now, I've not actually looked today at what the view rate is, but I imagine it's in the tens of thousands. Which is a massive shame because this specific video, again, I don't necessarily know what it's called, but it's got a picture of Kevin, the guy, and there's like a light bulb coming over his head and stuff. It's whatever, but it's incorrect. The video is incorrect. The video says things that are just massively wrong. And I've reached out to them, and their response was that people shouldn't take what he says as fact. But my argument is, well, maybe he should, maybe you should do a better job of fact checking what you say. If you're going to be on that platform, you don't want to be saying things that are wrong either.
Well, I think it's one of the things that got people very excited about this topic in general in the last couple of weeks, because I think the title was something like "We're not ready for this," and the reptile industry isn't ready for this. It basically implying that heat lamps are disappearing completely, and then in a couple of months or a year time, we will no longer have access to heat lamps. Do you think something specific sparked them to do that video? Like, did something change? Because obviously this incandescent ban was 6 months before. You'd think that's when that video would have come out.
I think that video, or at least the bit with Kevin in it, was recorded a few months ago, and it just never went out. It was one of those on the back burner. We'll release it when we release it, and then the ZoomEd letter gets leaked, and it hit the shelves, essentially, the video. Now, the ZoomEd letter was a letter that was written by Rita, and Rita's wonderful. In fact, my goodness, I was in Italy at the time, and Rita was there. We were I was doing work at a zoo, but I also visited the Verona Reptile Show, and Rita was there representing ZoomEd at the reptile show. And it was the day after she'd received the letter from the DOE saying, by the way, you can't sell lamps anymore. And she didn't say anything, but I did think she seems not stressed, not on edge, but something feels wrong. And then a couple of days later after that, I learn about it. And I kind of go, oh, right, that explains everything. And she must have been tearing her hair out. She must have, because she wasn't in the country, she was in Italy. They've had a letter saying, by the way, you can't sell lights anymore. Words to that effect. It must have been horrendous. It must have been the worst time ever. Yeah, but then having to put a smile on, greeting people, showing people products, going, oh, look at our great products that we, in the back of my head thinking, we can't bloody sell to you anymore. The worst. So poor lady, hat off to her, and hat off to the entire ZoomEd team, because they are doing an amazing job at I've been involved pretty much from the start in dealing with this with them and talking to them a lot about it, and trying to quell the fear that has appeared out of this naturally, and also been fed by videos like the nerd video, which was full of misinformation. Unfortunately, full of misinformation, because it could have been used for good.
Yeah, and it sort of just sparked, fear.
This fear buying. Yeah, it's the classic pandemic toilet paper thing again, right? Everyone's buying it when actually it's not really a massive problem. But my favorite quote from it is the UVA is infrared, which I think is hilarious because it just isn't. One of my friends and colleagues, I won't name them because I don't want them to get any hate, but they said, it's like saying purple is orange. It's just not true, right? If I show you the spectrum from before, you can see that infrared, or UV, is down here on the graph, and infrared is over here on the graph. They're not the same thing, unfortunately. I think it's come from on the side of bulb boxes. They say UVA usually.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is quite often I hear when people are talking about halogen lamps, quite often they reference UVA. And I always wonder, are they just misspeaking and trying to say infrared A, or are they actually thinking that, because there is obviously a tiny bit of UV, or maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought there was a very small amount of UVA in those bulbs, but it's not what we buy those bulbs for because it is such a small amount. So do you think that it's just people misspeaking, or do people think, are they reading the package and think that it's for the UVA?
Again, I think it's one of those where it's the brands are to blame. Mm. The brands are to blame for putting UVA on the box. Now, probably comes from the fact that people presume that a halogen lamp and a tungsten lamp burns at 3000 Kelvin, which it doesn't. When you actually measure them, they tend not to burn at 3000 Kelvin at all. And at 3000 Kelvin, there is about 0.5% UVA. Again, very, very little. At 2500 Kelvin, it's like 0.01 or something ridiculous. It's really, really small amount. It's a stupid amount, like tiny. And that going on the box, people know that UVA helps animals to see. The reptiles can see UVA, or all reptiles can see UVA. And it's a buzzword. It's a way of selling a product. One of them did it, so they all have to do it, right? If tomorrow Arcadia took UVA off the box, people may stop buying Arcadia on the basis that, well, ZooMed's product does it, or Reptile Systems' product does it. They have UVA in the box. I'll buy theirs instead. So it's kind of like they either all need to stop, or we have to educate people better that it's not true. I'd rather them all stop, because it doesn't look good if they're all incorrect, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a massive shame, but there you go. That's one of those things, isn't it? The next thing on my I've got two screens, and I'm flicking between the two ones. Got my other slides on it. The next part of the video was heat emitters are a better use of energy, and we've just discussed why they're not. Right? He says that in the video, Kevin. He says that heat emitters are a better use of energy. We know they're not. Right? We know that basking heat, you need your infrared A. And that heat emitters do not produce much infrared A at all.
Yeah.
Despite the marketing. And then the video is then portrayed as being factual. Not only do they say that, and then there's a disclaimer at the end to say, by the way, maybe do your own research. They literally say, now that you guys are as caught up as we are, as if they know the truth. And it's just not true, right? I want to say the guy's name is Dean, but I'm not 100% sure, actually. I'm really not sure. But he says that at the end. He's kind of bookmarks the start and end of the video with another guy who's not Kevin.
Yeah, I think it's Andy. I think.
Oh, Andy. Sorry, I don't know why I said Dean.
Close.
And then they make recommendations. Yeah, they then make recommendations to go out and buy as many lamps as you can, like to panic buy. And we know that's bad advice. Every time that's ever happened with anything, that's been bad advice, right? You don't go out and panic buy. You buy what you need. You maybe buy one or two more, but you don't stock up on lamps forever. That's crazy. What that does is that the prices hike massively. You're putting everybody else out of it, and when you don't need it and somebody else might do, that's terrible. It's terrible community spirit. Yeah, we're all supposed to look out for each other on this thing. So it's. We're already seeing Amazon's algorithm throwing the prices up of heat lamps, the ones that are still sellable in the US, because they're seeing all the heat lamps go up. You just put yours up by $5, people are going to buy it.
Yeah,
it's just, and a lot of those brands are brands that you can't even pronounce anyway. So it's just money just going to some faceless corporation. It's crazy. It's crazy. It is worth me balancing this out. They did say some good stuff. They say that many animals require incandescent lights as a good source of welfare. Words to that effect. That's true. They do. They say that the heat projectors are a better alternative, but then they imply that there is no alternative. But that's true. There is no alternative, right? That's true. And they say that it's scary and worrying, which it is. If lamps were banned outright, then yes, there would be a huge, huge problem.
Yeah.
And technically, lamps are being banned. So yes, it is scary and it's worrying. But I don't want to scaremonger people. That's not what we're in for. And as of right now, to my knowledge, they haven't corrected the mistakes. Despite personal assurances, I've messaged them privately and they've reassured me that they would fix the issue. And they said tomorrow, and this was months ago. And it's, to my knowledge, they've still not corrected it.
Yeah, I watched it just a couple of days ago, so I don't think there's been any changes.
Yeah, there's no. I think there's only been 2 or 3 videos since then.
Yeah,
and they don't address it at all. So, to my knowledge, there is no addressing of this issue, and no corrections or anything like that. So, it's a shame because they assured me that they would be, but one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the letter that ZooMed sent out. They sent this out to some zoo partners and distributors and things like that. And then what happened was somebody took a photograph of it and posted it online, and then it went crazy. But you can see there's a list of products that are considered banned now, according to the DOE.